Dave, you ready to start?
Yeah, let's get it going.
Okay, I'm muting everybody now.
All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our last April meeting for Rotary. And this morning we're going to have we're starting early, so thanks for coming on early so we can hear from Dinky at the food pantry. We're going to start this morning with our invocation. I don't know that Ramona got the message, so I'll probably do the invocation myself if Ramona's not on. And then the pledge will be led by Dave Williamson. I'll start with the invocation. God, help us to bring our best efforts to what we can know, to love our friends and family, to treat our employees and fellow workers fairly, to seek justice, to help those in need, to be the best that we can be, and to live by the four-way test. Of all things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? Amen.
Good morning. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dave. Let's welcome our guests, and then I'll let Roberta introduce Dinky. What other guests? It looks like a lot of unfamiliar names on here this morning. So if you have a guest or you are a guest, please unmute yourself.
Hey, I'm new here. I was invited by Emmett for this meeting. I'm local. I live in Dublin and in Muirfield, and actually I lead a business association called the Asian Indian American Business Group. I'm a president for that one. That's how I met Emmett, and Emmett invited me for this one. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Good to meet you.
Can you pronounce your name Vivek?
Yeah. Vivek, my last name is Arunachalam. It's longer than Vivek, but I think Vivek might be easy.
Okay, well, thank you very much for being here. We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
Other guests, I saw Raj Reddy's on, also a guest of Emmett. Emmett, would you like to introduce your guest?
Yeah, Cassie should be on the call too as well. She was introduced to me by Jody Moore from Fifth Third, and Jody is also on the call. I saw her, and I have Dale Chase. I saw Dale as well. So I didn't know who other guests that I have on the call. I didn't see them, but I know I think I invited 22 other guests to join.
I'm here, Emmett. I'm here.
Oh, Jim Bishop. Yeah. Well, Jim is a Rotarian. He's from downtown Rotary. So thanks, Jim.
Well, welcome, Jim, Raj, Cassie, and all of Emmett's other guests. And thanks for being enthusiastic about bringing new guests. You're always welcome to join us here on Friday mornings. We do the Zoom, and we will in a few weeks be resuming our 7:30 Friday meetings at Muirfield Village Country Club.
Thank you, David, and thank you, Emmett. Thank you, Emmett, for inviting. I know David too from last more than 3 years. Emmett as well. Thank you.
Welcome, Raj. Any other guests this morning? Roberta, would you like to introduce Dinky?
Sure. As you all know, hopefully from the emails I've been sending out, the district is having a canned food drive, and each Rotary Club can pick their own beneficiary. We've decided to pick Dublin Food Pantry, which makes the most sense, of course. The district is accepting dollars for cans. So if you want to donate dollars, just contact Claudia and she'll get your check, cash, or credit card. And we have 6 drop-off points. So I am going to tell you where they are before I introduce Dinky. David Bentz's home, and these are all in my email, which will be coming out every week to remind you. So David Bentz's home, my home, and I've gotten some already. Lyle Brown's home, Ramona's home, Penland Coil, Susan West's office at State Bank on Dublin Granville in the lobby, and City Barbecue corporate office on Blazer Parkway. So either in the lobby or outside. And the club with the most cans or dollar combination will win a $500 happy hour from the district and hosted by Steve Heiser. Hope I've summed it all up. I'm going to let Dinky introduce herself if she wants to say what she's all about, but she is the manager, head honcho, whatever, of the Dublin Food Pantry. So Dinky, I'm going to let you take it away, and please tell us who you are and what you do. And
awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for inviting me. And as I mentioned earlier, I may be running away from my grandkids during this process. So you might see me shake the screen a little bit. So I'm the executive director of the Dublin Food Pantry. The Rotary has always supported our efforts in the community, and we're very grateful for that. We're also very excited about the food drive. And I think the best way to sort of talk about the food pantry would be to tell you a little story. It's been a really, really hard year for people. I'm sure most of you are painfully aware of that. I want to share the story about a family, two-parent household with 6 children. One of them is a football player for Dublin City Schools, and they have been homeless since August. The only person who knows they're homeless is the school counselor and the football coach. And we have been working with them off and on since August. And what I want to share with you is that they did everything right. Mom and dad both work. They had a home. It got sold out from underneath them. They were renting. They didn't have a place to go. They continued to work during COVID. Then the mom got furloughed. She got back to work. Then she got laid off. She got back to work, got a job with Cameron Mitchell. And now her daughter and her son all have COVID. So it's sort of this crisis on top of crisis, in addition to what people go through all the time when they're food insecure. And I think what's most shocking to most people is that this is happening in Dublin. This family has been a longtime resident, and part of what's happening to them now is finding a place to live. And although there may be money for rent assistance, it runs out so incredibly fast that even if you ask for it, by the time you get there, it may already be gone. The city of Franklin County got $32 million or something to help with families who are being evicted and facing homelessness. And they helped like 16 families. So rent assistance does not go very far. And if you need rent assistance, you're going to need food assistance. So our goal is to be available to people no matter what for food. I will tell you that in March of 2020, everything at the food pantry changed. We went from a choice food pantry, meaning people could come in and go shopping, to a drive-through. We turned that around in about 3 days. And it has dramatically changed how we operate. We went from 150 volunteers a week to 50 volunteers a week. We've seen a 79% increase in customers since March of 2020. So it's just been a whirlwind of a year. And if it weren't for folks like the Rotary and other organizations that continue to support us, I don't know how we could possibly meet the need. And while I say 79% increase, there were a couple of months where the percentage of increase was as high as 800. Most of the folks who made that increase were people who have never used a food pantry before. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know what to bring with them. They were embarrassed in some cases. They would call and say, hey, I need food. I don't know what to do. Where can I go? And our goal was to make that process as seamless and easy as possible for them. And during the pandemic, all the way up to USDA allowed us to change what our requirements are for people who are coming to access food. So now it is self-declaration. You don't have to prove anything. You just say, I need it. And we say, here you go. So that's sort of it in a nutshell. We continue to be open. We continue to serve people. We never shut down for one day during COVID. We're very proud of that and very happy that we were able to serve. So I think now I'll just open it up to questions. Thank you for doing the food drive. I look forward to seeing your club be the winner, right? That's what you want. So let's make it happen. Thank you.
So
Dinky, I have two questions, if I may.
Yes.
My first question would be, if you've gone from 150 volunteers to 50, do you need more volunteers?
So here's the problem. Because of COVID, we've had to shut down our volunteer opportunities. We can't take groups. We now have a private registration for volunteering because we have to limit it because of social distancing. So that's part of the reason we went down. Additionally, many of our volunteers needed to step back for health reasons.
Sure.
And they want to come back, and it's sort of a cycle that we can't get out of right now because we have to protect not only our volunteers, but our customers as well.
My second question is, what's the relationship with the Dublin Food Bank and Mid-Ohio Food Bank and what Mike Harbosh is doing and their incredible campaigns?
Yeah, great question. So we are a member of the Mid-Ohio Food Collective. So so the standards, for example, of how the pantry operates in terms of food safety and inventory is determined by Mid-Ohio Food Collective. So if you donate to them, while we don't see the dollars directly, we benefit from those donations because it either means, for example, with the campaign, the capital campaign they're investing in and the other things that are going on for the next year, we do not have to pay for food from the food bank, which is pretty phenomenal. We only pay a minimal anyway. It's like 8 cents a pound. So I don't want people to think we're spending boatloads of money with the food bank. We're not.
Dinky, what would be the top 3 or 4 things that you need to collect right now?
So soup, ready to eat soup. So soup, you can pop the lid off. And then things like, things like hamburger helper, things that will make a meal with just one thing added to it. Those are really important to us. And then of course we continue to collect personal care, soap, deodorant, feminine hygiene products, toothpaste, toothbrushes, because none of those things can be purchased with food stamps.
And also, just so everyone's aware, they are now accepting monetary donations as part of this contest. It doesn't just have to be cans. So Dinky, I think we actually got that changed because of you, so.
And to that point, if you want to make a donation, please make your check out to the Dublin AM Charitable Foundation. All monies are running through the foundation. Each dollar will count as a can. If you want to make a credit card donation, you can also do that through the foundation. Just call me with that information and I'm happy to process it for you. And if you want to give cash, I guess you can do that too, but I don't recommend it.
Ms.
Dinky,
Jeff,
I have a
raise your
quick-
hand up. Yes.
Dinky, I have a quick question. Do you have relationships with any of the local restaurants or grocery stores that also include access to any fresh food for people
Yes.
that are just stopping in on a regular basis?
Yes. So we pick up, I believe it's 8 times a week from local grocery stores. They are always huge supporters. That is actually, in addition to the food bank, most of our fresh produce comes from local grocery stores. I will tell you, Trader Joe's gives us a lot of food, which is fantastic. But all of them, I mean, Kroger's, Giant Eagle, Myers, Whole Foods. So we get food from them every single week. And that's what makes it possible for us to distribute so much food. So most food pantries do what they call a 3-day, 3-meal food supply. We are giving a 5-day, 3 meals a day food supply. And we are still providing choice for meat, produce, bread, pastries, milk, and eggs. Most food pantries are not. Most of them, you get what you get and we'll see you later. That is true for the boxed items, the canned items. There is no choice in that, unfortunately, because everything has to be prepackaged. And it's sort of weird. 20 years ago, that's what we used to do. And we wanted to get away from that. But maybe because of that experience, the transition to a drive-through was much easier than we thought it was going to be, because there was a lot of experience in how to do it.
Mhm.
And while we're seeing an increase, Mid-Ohio is doing 500 families a day.
Mhm.
So we're not the only ones. And the other thing that happened is so many of the food pantries on the west side of Columbus shut down. And so some of the suburban pantries have had to pick up to help folks on the west side make it through this crisis.
Do you notice a significant change and increase when the school year ends and you see a lot of families with kids at home for the rest of those meals?
Yes, that's always been the case. I don't know if Dublin City Schools is planning on providing lunches this summer like they did last summer,
Mhm.
which had a huge impact. It was a wonderful gift for them to do that.
Do you need any assistance with people picking up some of that fresh food and fresh produce? And when you said you have 8 different locations or 8 different pickups, would that be helpful to have some additional resources to help with those pickups?
If you're interested in doing that, I would put you in touch with Bev. Bev is our transportation coordinator. She is a volunteer. She's been there for 10 or 12 years, I'm not sure. And she organizes all the drivers, all the pickups, all the times. She does a phenomenal job. We honestly couldn't pay her for what she does.
Mhm.
So it's very organized. And occasionally what we need is somebody who's willing to say, pick up the phone and call me and I can go do it, because one of our drivers is having surgery or is going on vacation or
Mhm.
something else is going on. So that's some of the things we really need, is somebody who can fill that gap for a temporary amount of time. It's a good gig. People don't want to give it up.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm involved down on campus with a lot of food and food insecurity with folks. And we do a very similar program with fresh food, but we incorporate a lot of healthy teaching tips and education on wellness and what have you. So it's interesting to hear how it's done in the community. And I'm thrilled that there's a lot of access to fresh food in addition to the canned and the boxed.
That's great. Are you working with Neighborhood Services or OSU?
I'm with OSU.
Okay.
And so we started a program to engage a lot of our employees, environmental service workers, transportation, just to get them to eat healthier and introduce healthier foods and different ways to access it. And so, as you know, a lot of people, when you have multiple people living, as you mentioned earlier, you have a lot of people living in your house and cash is tight, then food and food insecurity becomes very real. And so that's what we do, is they get a bag of groceries and we have a grant to help cover that. But we include some health and some other kinds of tips with it. So this is very near and dear to my heart.
Well, I'm glad you're doing that. Thank you. It's important work.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yep.
Dinky and Steph, thanks for educating us on this. And Dinky, I'll just say your story about the Dublin family is very similar to the ones I hear pretty much weekly coming from my wife out of Daniel Wright Elementary.
Oh, I bet.
Mm-hmm.
We deliver to Daniel Wright.
I think you delivered with the teachers at least 25 families yesterday. So it's a huge effort, and you're doing a great job in activating the community to do that. A can is equal to $1 in our contest. $1 equals 1 can, but We know, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dinky, that $1 is really worth about $10 of food.
Yes,
For the buying power that you have.
very true.
Let's get activated as a club, and even if it's $10 gift, that's $100 worth of food to the hungry in our community, and it helps with our contest. But really, the main goal is to feed people. So please, let's as a club get activated and win the contest, but also make a difference.
David, should we put Dublin Food Pantry in the memo of the check? If we're making it to the Rotary Foundation, how do we know as the foundation those monies are going to go to the food pantry?
We're tracking those. Amy Barnhart, our bookkeeper, and I are tracking those dollars, and they will be transferred back over to the club with a check then being made out to the food pantry.
Thanks, Claudia.
So yeah, in the memo, you can put food contest or food pantry, either one, and that will, Amy will know when she goes to cash the check.
So is the donation only available by check? Sorry if I missed this, but is it only available by check, or can we do online?
You can call me with a credit card. We don't have an online process for the foundation, but you can call me with a credit card and I'm happy to process it.
Okay.
And it will still funnel through the foundation, considered a donation.
All right. Thanks, Claudia.
And before we sign off on this particular portion, if everyone who is collecting, like Ramona and David Benz and whoever else, make sure before you turn those foods over to the pantry that you count the number of cans so that we can get credit and report it to me. So Claudia and I will keep track of the cans and the money. Please. Thanks.
Thank you. Have a great day. Thanks so much.
Thank you
Bye.
so much, Dinky.
Have a good day.
I appreciate you coming.
No worries.
Thank you.
I'm going to go grab those grandkids. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, we got time for a few quick announcements, and then we need to move on to give our speaker adequate time. Does anyone have another announcement this morning?
I have one.
Go ahead.
Okay, I just want to let everybody know that we are going to be moving from Fifth Third Bank for a lot of our Rotary gear into a storage unit tomorrow morning, starting at 9 o'clock. So the bank is open 9 to noon, so we're going to have to get it done in a 3-hour period. But if you want to volunteer, you can sign up on the volunteer list or just show up. Either one's fine. Between 9 and 9:15, we'll get started. And the intent is to consolidate as much stuff. So if you have things at home that are Rotary and you want to get them out of your garage or your basement, and so we can inventory them and then take them over to the storage unit, that would be fine. We're also going to probably take a look at some of the things that are already there to determine whether or not they're continuing need, or we should be purging a lot of our things. But tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, Fifth Third at Perimeter and Muirfield Drive. If you've got some time and give us an hour and a half or so, it'd be helpful.
Great. My announcement is on the Miracle League. So we are kicking back up this weekend. We are looking for volunteers on May the 22nd. And if you haven't done it, it really is a great experience. It really means a lot to the kids. They didn't have the league last year, so they are amped up and ready to go. So May the 22nd, we have 3 shifts. Claudia sent out a message on it. If you could sign up, we would greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
I'll resend that sign up today. So if you lost it somewhere in cyberspace, we'll send you another invite.
Thank you, Claudia.
Other announcements this morning. I've got a couple. The first, our first hybrid meeting back at Muirfield Village will be 2 weeks from today on May 14th. I'm not sure yet if our speaker is going to be live or remote, but we will gather in person either way. So May 14th, mark your calendars to be at the country club. And we will put that on Zoom as well for those who don't feel safe being at the country club. If you have speaker ideas for the next Rotary year, ideas for Friday morning speakers, Pete Fulbriggy and John Susie have agreed to kind of lead that committee for 2021. Calvin Gebhardt's done a fantastic job, as you know, arranging all the speakers for this current Rotary year. And he's even started into July of the next Rotary year. But John, Susie, Pete, Fullbriggy are looking for ideas and looking for other volunteers to help on that committee. So if you're able to help with that committee or you have ideas for speakers, please reach out to either Pete or John. I am going to call on Calvin Gebhardt now to introduce our speaker for the day.
Thank you, David. We have the distinct honor to have Jeni's Ice Cream, Mr. John Lowe. John took the leap from General Electric Company to the then four-shop ice cream company based on his belief that Jeni Britton Bauer was a generational talent making the world's finest ice cream. He and Jeni had been longtime friends, and they decided that their talents were a perfect yin and a yang. The company has since grown to more than 50 scoop shops from LA to DC, has gone national with its pints on the freezer shelves of America's finest retailers, and has developed the nation's largest direct-to-consumer ice cream shipping business. Prior to that, John Lowe served in numerous leadership roles with General Electric Company, including stints at General Counsel at GE's business and general aviation startup, General Counsel of his Aviation Service Global Operation, a $14 billion profit and operating facility, and joint ventures around the globe. John is an officer of GE Honda Aero Engineers. During the 2008 financial crisis, John was tapped to lead multiple business critical divestitures. Lucky for him, each deal closed minutes prior to GE's quarterly reporting cutoff, and his future outside the law was cemented. John is a long-serving outside director of White Castle Company, advisory board member of the Watershed Distillery. He is a founding board member of the Columbus chapter of Conscious Capitalism, founder of the offshoot club of 35 Columbus CEOs, and serves on the board of the Columbus Youth Foundation. He is a graduate of the University of Illinois, Ohio State University Moritz College of Law, GE's famed Management Development course, the Human Performance Institute Executive course, and most recently, Harvard Business School's Young American Leaders program. John has but one hobby. He loves coaching his three sons' basketball teams, Jack, Alex, and Luke. He knows they will not play at the college level, but they will play beyond their athletic ability and learn the benefits of tenacity, hustle, and making the most of opportunities. He is married to Catherine Strauss, a full partner with Ice Miller. John, we have the distinct honor to have you present to us Jeni's Ice Cream. Welcome.
Well, that's very kind. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you all this morning. Thank you, Calvin, for the invite. I would normally say something nice about the person who invited me, but since Calvin has loaned me money, I'll say Calvin is a really fantastic guy. So I appreciate the invite. President Johnson, before he was president, he was introduced one time. The person went on and on about his accolades, and he said, my father would have really enjoyed that introduction, and my mother would have believed it. So I was sitting there thinking that as you were rattling through that. Thank you. I'm coming to you from a not so fancy hotel room out touring our shops, meeting with employees. So the Zoom setup is not ideal here. I've got a little light in front of me. I have to tell you all, I'm so impressed at how you have been able to have a conversation, not interrupt each other, and get questions in on Zoom. You guys are doing it much better than we do it at Jeni's. I'm very impressed. I'm happy to talk about any aspects of Jeni's. I'll just share that we put out our annual report, something we started doing several years ago. The idea is that, we're not a public company, but we want to operate the company with transparency and tell people what we're doing. We think that being an open brand brings value both inside the company and outside. And so we issue that every year. And this year we did something slightly different. We had decided to try to find ways to be a meaningful participant in racial justice awareness, that sort of thing. And so we decided to talk openly about our internal programs. And I will admit that I had a lot of trepidation about doing that. It feels like, much like the Rotarians, like you don't seek a pat on the back for doing the right thing. And at the same time, we thought it was important to tell potential employees that it was a good place to work and maybe show people what we were doing. So at least we could ensure that it would be something we lived up to for years to come. And it was very important to us that this racial justice awakening not simply relate to police brutality, but that we try to play a positive role in helping people move up within the company, et cetera. And so we decided to go public with our diversity statistics and then our various programs across the company. We think we are in a unique position because as an ice cream shop, we are the first employer for many kids. And if we can provide a great first job experience and provide people some training on how to get ahead, not just at Jeni's, but in any job, we think that's one way we can help be a better employer and possibly improve the world a little bit. I will tell you that we referred to the annual report as the 2020, the year that felt like 20. It was one of the more ridiculous years to try to be a leader, as you all know. And I think as we sort of dealt head on with problems, we were facing having to furlough employees and be in a situation we just didn't fathom right beforehand. When we made the decision to do that, we immediately changed our mission. We are a company that traditionally says that we exist for two reasons. That's to make better ice creams and to bring people together. And we immediately changed that to being a company that existed solely to try to get everybody back and employed. And thankfully for us, what we didn't know was going to happen when the world shut down last March was that everyone would continue eating ice cream and they would find other different ways of getting Jeni's. And what we saw was our e-commerce business spike amazingly. There were days where we were up 1,000% from the same day the year before. And then we had just rolled out local delivery from our scoop shop. So people were able to go on our website, order local delivery, and we could have 2 people in our shops handing pints to Uber drivers and the like for delivery. And that enabled our company to maintain its footing and not lose much ground. And then ultimately we were able to still open 7 or 8 stores during the pandemic and continue to grow. So what looked like it was going to be a horrible financial year, and we were quickly planning to use the money that we had set aside to build new stores simply to pay the bills and try to pay employees. We were able to keep growing. We ended up having 22% top line growth last year, which feels ridiculous given how bad the year felt, but is otherwise great. In a post-pandemic world, we will exceed 100 million in sales this year as soon as the world returns to some form of normal. And we like to think that we're on a strong march. What we are sort of experiencing in places outside of Columbus is that where we have a strong scoop shop presence in Atlanta, Nashville, Chicago, our people are becoming aware of our company from the scoop shop and then buying the pint at their grocery store. And our #1 seller at grocery stores is now selling more in dollars than Ben and Jerry's #1 seller in Atlanta and Nashville and that sort of thing. So we say at Jeni's 1 + 1 = more than 2 because our scoop shops perform very well, but they also are just introducing people to our product and they're building awareness for us. So we don't spend much on marketing, but we spend a lot on opening new stores. So there's a little background. I suspect sometimes when I'm speaking to a group, I worry that I'm going to stare awkwardly back at them and they're going to have no questions. I get the impression this group might be different and that people will be happy to ask some questions. So how about I pause there and Calvin or President Bentz, if you want to steer for time. I don't know exactly how much time we have. So
I have a question.
Yes.
So what's that, the highest seller that you were referring to? Which ice cream?
Brown butter almond brittle. For years it was salty caramel. We like to describe that Jeni created salty caramel. We like to think that Starbucks owes us a nickel for every salty caramel macchiato they sell. But and that was our #1 seller for many years. But brown butter almond brittle has caught the world's attention. I think I'm required to mention something about the Dolly Parton collaboration from a week or two ago. If you didn't hear, we shut down the internet for a short period of time. We knew Dolly Parton was a big cultural icon across many generations, but we didn't have a great setup for the thousands of people that would be camped on our website hitting refresh. We had a little bit of a coding issue where the system goes back and checks for shipping, pricing, and some things related to shipping throughout the checkout process. And in normal volume, that's fine, but it provides an exponential drain on the system when you have everybody trying to do it at the same time. And so that shut the internet down. Our competitors are convinced that we did that intentionally to just get more attention and ended up on the Colbert Show and that sort of thing. But I promise you on the inside, we did not do that intentionally.
John, driving through Dublin, I've seen people waiting outside of the store, even in the freezing cold, to get ice cream, which is great to see. I'm curious how seasonal your business is, because it seems like there's always people out there, even if it's 20 degrees outside.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and I should just say Dublin has always had a special place in my heart. When Jeni and Charlie called me in January of 2009 and said, you should leave GE and come back and be our CEO, I said something like, I love you guys, but that's crazy, right? Like, are you kidding me? How many shops do you have? And they said 4. And we started talking, and then I started getting excited about it, and it sounded wholesome, and I'd get to be the husband and father I wanted to be and wasn't getting to be. And my wife said something like, I love Charlie and Jeni, but I didn't follow you around so you could go run a 4-shop ice cream company. Are you kidding me, right? I said, no, I think we might be able to grow this. And then they opened the Dublin store in April of 2009. And I stood outside and watched people standing in line to get in. And I thought, wait a minute, there's something here. This is, it's a nice day, but people are standing out waiting in line. And we had horrible financial information. We couldn't tell if the company was making any money or not. The answer was it wasn't. We weren't sure if they could pay me, and the answer was they couldn't. But it felt like there was something there, and maybe we could go find more Dublin, Ohio's. And so Dublin's always had a special spot in my heart. But your question about how seasonal the business is, in Columbus and Chicago, there is a 75% swing between January and July in our scoop shop sales. And so, I came from GE, where you're taught to smooth your earnings over time. And so we have pushed into the Southeast. And I will tell you that the people that live in Nashville and Charleston and Charlotte, they have a longer ice cream eating season than we do. that benefits us greatly. And just, a few days more, we think there's a magic temperature like, 62 or something where ice cream eating spikes. So there's a big swing.
John, I'm curious, what's the most expensive ingredient in your product from the standpoint of the fruit, the berries, things like that?
That's a great question. Everybody know, I grew up south of Chicago. I didn't know what this fruit was, but pawpaws, sort of somewhat well known in Ohio, I think are not grown commercially, have to be foraged, I'm told. Those made for an expensive ice cream. I will also say that pistachios, we use a real pistachio butter to make our pistachio ice cream. That, sometimes I think maybe we should just put some gold lame in the pint, because that might be cheaper than shucking pistachios and the like. So Jeni it has a unique ability to find the most expensive thing in the world and then try to shove it in a pint of ice cream. And I'm the yang to her yin, and trying to say, like, maybe we could make one that actually, we get to keep a dime every time we sell it. One of her favorite people in the world is a wonderful man out of Springfield, Missouri, who goes to Ecuador, pays cash, does more than fair trade on the chocolate he buys. His name is Sean Askinosie Chocolates. And he may be the single greatest chocolate maker in the world. I don't know, but he's up there. And it's really expensive. And she came up with a double chocolate Sean Askinosie flavor. And I had my head in a spreadsheet in my desk, and she comes barreling into my office, door swings open. She slams the pint down. She's like, "You got to try this." And I thinking, like, I don't want ice cream right now. Like, what, it's 9 a.m. Come on. And just try it. And so I get a taste. I was like, "That's good." And she's like, no, that's good. Like, that's damn good. And she, she's starting to swear at me, and she's emphatic, and she's so excited. This is going to be amazing. And I was like, "Yeah, that's amazing. That's great." And she said, "We should make this, right?" I was like, "Yeah, right." And then as she's walking out the door, she's like, "Because the cogs are going to be out of this world," and walks out of my office. But she had gotten the yes from me without telling me why she was there, which was to try to get me to say yes, despite how expensive it was going to be.
I heard that black raspberries are expensive.
Black raspberries are definitely expensive. Yes. And it took me a while to understand I had no background in food, and every once in a while she would be saying an ingredient and I would think, okay, fine. And then I would learn later, like, oh, she was telling me that because it's really expensive, and black raspberries is one of those.
John, if I may, I'm going to be following up with you because I actually need presenters for Conscious Capitalism to talk to the Conway Center for Family Business. But specifically for this, we talked about expensive items, but what about scarce items, like milk? Going down the road here, as we run out of certain commodity items, what's the biggest risk to Jeni's putting product on the shelf?
That's a great question. I was asked about commodity pricing skyrocketing and inflation hitting some other businesses. I'm good friends with the Worthington Steel CFO, and he was sort of asking me, and we haven't seen it yet. Frankly, milk prices are at a relatively historic low at the moment, and so we're getting some benefit from that. It won't take much for an uptick in those prices to really hit our bottom line. It's no secret, White Castle, the beef pricing really hits their bottom line, and we at Jeni's are not smart enough to hedge and try to play the market, and so we're sort of at its whim. And we're not quite a big enough player. I shouldn't say we're not smart enough. Poe Timmons, our CFO, could figure it out, but we've decided against it, at least for now. I think there's no product at the moment that I think as soon as we hang up, I'll think of something that is that we could run out of. But at the moment, nothing's coming across. For the Dolly flavor, we had a very limited quantity because of our ability to make the strawberry pretzel, the pretzel pie pieces. We have to buy a very special pretzel, low moisture, and then in our kitchen we turn that into the pieces, and that is a more laborious task than I'll describe. And when you do it at volume, it's difficult, etc. And so the throughput in our kitchen is usually a bigger inhibitor than our ability to get our hands on any specific ingredient.
Hey, John, I have a quick question. When you look into the future and opportunities, are there any conversations about exploring more of a plant-based option instead of the dairy, actually incorporating more almond milks, oat milks, rice milks, and things like that into those unique and special recipes?
Oh yeah. We've been making vegan ice cream for a number of years now. We have decided to use a coconut base exclusively. We fancy ourselves foodies and chefs, but not scientists. And so, there are a lot of products that, have a long list of ingredients and things that, is not what we do, but coconut cream is delicious. And, we probably have 6 flavors at the moment that are coconut based. Sells better in LA than it does in Columbus, Ohio. But, we have a number of flavors at all of our shops and in pints at Whole Foods and the like. And they're delicious. And I'm a big fan. I think we'll be doing more over time. And we're playing with other bases, but at the moment we think the coconut cream's the best of the class.
Thanks.
Hey, John, I was interested to find out what creative solutions you guys are utilizing to solve the labor shortage issues right now.
The full answer is not enough. We've been very fortunate to keep a great team and are not facing some of the problems that others are in the industry. Frankly, people tend to make more working at Jeni's than they do other places. We don't, we accept tips, but we pay above the non-tip minimum. And so we tend to attract people and don't have too many labor problems. For us, when we open a new store, getting the right folks there for opening and trained is our biggest challenge. I think we should all be looking into or expecting a future where automation and pre-ordering through your phone and the like it takes over as a wave in retail and in food. And we will certainly participate in that at some point and in some ways, but at the moment, the labor shortages are not harming our company.
John, oh, sorry, Wolf, go ahead.
Quick question, hopefully. Just wanted to ask you, several years ago, you had a bacteria issue in the company, and I think you guys held a master class on how to take an adverse situation and turn it into a positive and grow from there. I was just wondering if you could talk to us a little bit about how you take bad news and turn it into a positive. I think that's a great story.
I appreciate that. Thank you. In 2015, we had a listeria outbreak, and it will. First of all, I'm a little worried that my tombstone will say, like, once led a team through a recall. We decided in the the crisis moment to keep leading the way we had decided to lead the company, which was with transparency and try to be open with the public about what the situation was, what we were doing about it, et cetera, and to immediately try to prioritize customer safety, which wasn't a grand leap, and I don't think we deserve accolades for getting there. That was just the right answer, and any of you would have made the same. And we were fortunate that it was negative in that Blue Bell had just gone through that and had handled it very differently, and had more problems than they let on, kept producing ice cream, etc. They just paid an enormous fine in the last year. Their CEO is actually facing criminal sanctions, I believe. And listeria is the bane of the ice cream industry. It is a constant battle. We were in a battle we were not prepared for, and good companies get hit with it all the time. Locally now, there's another ice cream company that's dealing with it, and they're good people and they're smart and they run a great ice cream plant, and they still are having to deal with it right now. So, I think it's just one of the things you have to deal with in the food world, and being open and honest about it is the right way to deal with it. And I appreciate the accolades. I'm not, it didn't feel that way at the time, but thank you. And now with a little distance, I'm beginning to breathe again. So thanks.
John, are you based locally?
Yeah, absolutely. I live in a little town just south of Dublin called Upper Arlington, if you've heard of it.
No, but it sounds like you'd be a perfect Rotarian. You have the same kind of ethical standards that we promote, and we'd love to have you come visit us again.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you. My father is a Rotarian, and I enjoy these meetings. I get to go to his every once in a while. He was president of the Hilliard Rotary after he was retired, and I accuse him of just padding his resume at this point. But
no, seriously, you sound like
thank you.
Rotarian.
Appreciate that.
It's time for one more question if somebody has a quick one. If not, John.
Hey, David.
Yes.
It's Steph. Sorry, I have a quick question.
Hey,
Steph, it was mentioned, John, you mentioned the Human Performance Institute as part of your intro. I've been through one of those programs too. Could you share a little bit about your experience with that?
Absolutely. I was with GE. They were they picked a few people to go try a trial with the Human Performance Institute. I will tell you what I say is that GE sent me to Fat Camp. I didn't know it was Fat Camp until I got there, and they served lunch at this beautiful setting where Jim Lair was sort of the famous teacher of young tennis players, and he focused on getting people in the moment and engaged, and getting rid of distractions. And he turned that into a leadership institute. Mm-hmm. And they sat us down for lunch, and then they served us what I was pretty confident was half of a lunch. And they began to teach us about eating enough to get to the next meal, but not overdoing it. And then we were constantly, traveling. I was always on the road for GE, and their point was how to work out in your hotel room, and to think of yourself as a corporate athlete, right? If world-class athletes take great care of their body, world-class business leaders have to take good care of their body. They'll have more energy. They'll be able to last longer in days of meetings, et cetera. And it was a spectacular training program. And what I think was just 4 days has had a lasting impact on me. I still occasionally overeat at lunch, but I don't work out as much as I should. But the principles and the thinking and the Jeni's employees have heard me talk about being fully engaged at work, and and trying to cut out distractions more than they would care. And the benefits of the Human Performance Institute have stayed with me for a while. And I will tell you, during the worst of the pandemic, when I noticed I had put on some pounds and wasn't feeling great about life and the like, I turned back to one of their trainers who was doing 7-minute workouts online for free. And it was like a great kick in the butt to me of like, all right, this is the real life's coming back, and getting yelled at by him for 7 minutes felt pretty good at the time.
Thank you. I was wondering about that energy management and how that fit into the pandemic. So thanks for sharing.
Yep.
Jeni's ice cream is not just great ice cream. It's a landmark in Dublin. It's part of our local culture. And John, we thank you for being here today to give us the inside scoop on Jeni's. And you're always welcome back to any of our meetings, and we'd love to have you come back and update us again at some point.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be with you all. I love what you all are doing. Dublin's a special place, and you all are making Dublin and Columbus a better place. So thank you very much.
Next week on May 7th, we're going to hear from Colleen Gilger. She is with the Dublin Economic Development Group, and she's going to update us on the Route 33 corridor. So definitely don't want to miss that. And that will be our last, hopefully our last Zoom only meeting. Our quote of the week is, "Oh, everyone likes ice cream. Yes, indeed they do. Everyone likes ice cream. I do. Do you? Search the whole world over, travel near and far, but everyone likes ice cream, no matter who they are." And that comes from the famous Bert and Ernie. Have a great weekend, everyone.